male. He's immediately recognizable because he has that big wound on his rump. That was actually courtesy of 747, the bear that we were just watching. He was standing almost in the same spot that 747 was standing in, but he didn't hear 747 or smell him coming along. And 747 decided to remind him who's the most dominant bear. Grabbed him by the backside with his front claws and tore that wound open. It's common to see, especially adult male bears, with open wounds and scars. So 747 with another fish, number 4. Maybe that one wasn't choice either. It looks like he dropped that. 83, again, the bear in the back with the big open wound. He had a big open wound in that same area last year, and by the fall it looked completely healed. So when he's walking around with these scars and open wounds, that's kind of just another day in the life of Bear 83. When 747 is, catching fish and maybe dropping them, and again, he's the fish, or excuse me, the bear in the foreground. When he's catching fish and dropping them, I often wonder, again, if he's looking for female salmon only, or if there's just something, in his genes, in the genes of bears that say, if you see food, you need to catch it, even if you can't maybe physically fit it into your stomach. Some biologists have described, a similar behavior, number 5 for 747. And again, that one wasn't choice enough, or maybe he didn't want to work so hard to hold on to it. So he dropped that one too. So he's caught 5 fish, but maybe only eaten 1 or 2. But some biologists have described a similar behavior in wolves, maybe where they find a lot of vulnerable prey in a caribou herd or something like that, and they end up killing more that they can eat, and that's called surplus killing. And that may be something that's just genetically programmed within them. They may not be able to shut it off. And these wild animals live in a feast or famine world. So what might seem wasteful for us may not really necessarily be a choice for them. So let's take a look at 83 eating this fish. He's kind of eating it in a similar manner to 747, holding that fish against one of his forearms, peeling the skin off. You can see that ribbon of skin just getting stripped off. Really doesn't seem to matter how hungry the bears are. If they always seem to strip the skin off before they get into the body cavity, and I think that just allows them easier access to the softer parts that are inside. Salmon skin is actually pretty tough. If know you're trying to fillet a salmon, you need to keep your knife very sharp. I certainly wouldn't be able to bite into a salmon and try to peel the skin off. That would be a really hard work. So just doing a simple thing like they're doing, stripping the skin off of the fish, is another indication of their strength. Alright, so 747 has another fish. So 2 bears here, both eating fish. And again, when we have 100 about their business, and they really don't have a choice. They receive no veterinary care here at Katmai. Katmai preserves, of course, the grand spectacles of nature, really pretty things, but we also preserve nature's harsh realities. And pain and suffering is just as much as a part of nature as, the playfulness and joy that we can see maybe a bear cub experience as it's frolicking with its siblings. And of course, the bears aren't kind to salmon. We often remark about the bears and think, oh, that bear looks like it's in pain. It may have... This is a young adult male, 10 years old. This is number 89 backpack. It's from a 2006 litter raised on the river here. This is one of those bears that I really like to watch because I'm very interested in his story. As a yearling cub, he was limping. Looked like he had a pretty severe leg injury. And really, he did look kind of pathetic, like he wasn't going to survive. But he surprised me. He was the bear that really taught me how tough and resilient they are. And now we have him fishing at Brooks Falls as an adult male. He's not quite big enough to displace bears like 83 and 747, but that may change in a few years as he continues to gain size, strength, and skill. That water where he's standing, as you can see, is fairly shallow. It's really easy to see fish right there. So when I've walked over there, again, when there aren't any bears in the vicinity, you know, the water may only be, 8 inches deep, maybe a foot deep when the water flowing through the river is higher. So bears over there are looking for fish to swim underneath them so they can pounce on it, pin it to the river bottom with its paws, or grab it with their jaws. Bears, though, that are maybe fishing a little bit closer to us, like number 83 down here, they're fishing through feel. It's really hard to see into the water there. They're only going to be able to see a fish if it's right on the surface, and that water is pretty deep just in front of this bear. So he's waiting for a fish to bump into him. When it does so, you'll see him kind of react fairly quickly, just like that. Try to maybe grab it with his jaws, maybe try to pin it with his paws to the river bottom or to his body. Fishing these different locations takes skill. And it's techniques that they have to learn. They can watch their mothers do it, but they have to practice it to be good at it. Not all bears are good at fishing the jacuzzi where this bear is sitting right here. You can see why we name it the jacuzzi. It is just frothing water. It's not as hot as a jacuzzi that we like to sit in. It's probably between 50 and 60 degrees Fahrenheit. But it takes practice to be able to fish in the jacuzzi successfully, and any other place along the waterfall. But if you practice long enough, you can get good at it. If you're patient and you're smart like a bear, you know that food will come to you. And since 83 is facing us the way he is, we might be able to get a pretty good look at that wound that he has. It looks, really nasty. I'm not sure how well it's going to show up on your computer screen at home. It doesn't look pretty, but that's one of those wounds that we can expect to probably heal. It's fairly superficial. It doesn't go through, through the skin layer. In the fall, when this bear comes back, he'll probably have a scar from that. And that might be identifiable. And again, eating the fish just like almost every other bear will, stripping the skin off first to get to the body cavity and some of the softer flesh inside. If they want to eat the whole fish, often they will, maybe start at the tail, stripping the skin off there, and then just bite large hunks off and just practically gulping it down. This is also a bear that we think was raised on or at least in the Brooks River area, from a litter, around 2003-ish.